You're listening to the Major Pod Network, the only place where your favorite toy store, bar, arcade, and arena are all on the same block. Scratch that major itch.
Today on the Game Marks podcast, we play WWF European Rampage Tour thanks to Mega Mark Tekker. Will this game hold up today? Are we going to play it forever? Woo! Or future endeavor? You're fired! All this plus gaming news, GMP64 and Clash at the Feast. Plug in, put on those nostalgia goggles because this week's Game Marks podcast starts now.
And now, the Game Marks. Welcome to the Game Marks podcast presented by the Major Pod Network. I'm the man they call Johnny Clash.
And I am Mr. Anything is Feasible, George Feis, and today we are playing WWF European Rampage Tour. Thank you, Tekker, for this one. This is great.
I love that the Mega Marks pick the games now. It takes a lot out of our decision making. But as always, we love to hear from you guys, so please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and make sure to subscribe and rate this podcast wherever you choose to listen, and join the conversation on social media at GameMarksPod and on Patreon at patreon.com/GameMarksPod. Georgie, how you doing today?
I am doing well. Let me tell you something. Do you know why I like the fact that the Mega Marks get to pick games? Because it forces us to close a door. We are, the next couple of weeks, you mentioned it last week, we are playing the last games in a couple of series. And I feel like you and I would probably draw that out, stretch it as long as we can. Be like, oh no, there's like 45 other Fire Pro games that we have to play before we play the last WrestleMania game in the WrestleMania series. There's another game that we have to play in the THQ series, in the Royal Rumble King of the Ring series. Like, no, we are closing out so many games. Attitude coming up. Oh, cannot wait.
Oh, WrestleMania 21. But European Rampage Tour, I kind of said that this was closing a door, which it is, because with this and Attitude, we're kind of closing all of the old WWF games out. What do you consider this game to be a part of? Do you consider it to be a part of like the Raw and the Royal Rumble series, or do you consider it to be with the WrestleMania and the Super WrestleManias and the Steel Cage Challenge? It kind of falls somewhere in between. I mean, it's a Commodore DOS game. It's not really like a major console or anything.
So I think this falls in line with, this is essentially a DOS port or a Commodore port of the Royal Rumble series of games. So it falls in line with Super WrestleMania, Royal Rumble, Raw, the games that we have played a billion times and we love. And obviously, if you listen to the Major Wrestling Figure podcast, you know that Smart Mark Sterling is also a big fan of the Super Nintendo / Sega Genesis Royal Rumble game. We also love them as well. That's also like one of the first wrestling games that I ever played. So this series that we're closing out today holds a special place in my heart.
Yeah, I feel like the WWF games from back then are a bit of a jumble of who developed them, who published them, before they finally settle into Acclaim, and then they finally set into like THQ and all that. But one door closes, another door opens. Who knows what we're going to start closing out next? But let's talk about last week where we played Kinnikuman, Muscle Grand Prix. We both played it forever. It was an arcade beauty, I will say. Visually, it played well. I know you said you were going to go back and play it right after we finished recording. Did you go back and did you play it?
I did. I had a great time. I went through and I was like, I'm going to see what John likes about Sunshine so much, because I never get to play Sunshine, because every time we play,
he takes up half of the ring with his one move.
Yeah.
It's great.
That twister move is nuts. Cyclone spin or whatever it is. It's nuts. But yeah, I had a great time. Cannot wait to continue this series. I think there's a couple more. They maybe not be a part of like Ultimate Muscle World or like that, but they're definitely Kinnikuman games still.
Hey, fine by me. I'd love to play them all, whether they're wrestling adjacent or not. But let's talk about Patreon a little bit, because Monday, today, you're getting the ad-free show. Tuesday, you are getting show notes and GMP Game Over, the GMP64 sister show, exclusively for Patreon at night. That's 7 p.m. Last week, actually, on Monday, you also got a Creative Pro vlog where I went through my day at the Creative Pro show right before my Doors match with Mike Anthony. You got a little clip of that. You got some Brian Myers, Bear Bronson. You got some Rich Swann dancing. You got a nice PBR beer bash. Wednesday, Future endeavored. Last week, George played Micro League Wrestling. This week, I will be playing WWF WrestleMania Steel Cage Challenge. I'm debating pulling out the plug and play for this one. We'll see if that works. I'm not sure.
You were going to say that.
I'm not sure.
I knew you were going to say it.
It's right behind me in these boxes that I'm using to move. So it's packed up, but I could easily get it. Friday, we had Clash and Burn on Patreon, where I picked Mega Mark Jamie Patterson Soups, and we had a nice little sit-down interview. We had a good time there, so a lot of stuff you get to look forward to if you're a Mega Mark as well. And then I went live Friday, and I actually played more of Bugs Bunny's Crazy Castle for the NES, which was great. I got up to level 21. I wrote down the code. So next
How
week,
many levels are there?
80. So next week we could go. We could continue from 21. We probably could have made it a little further, but I didn't write down the code from last time when I made it to 10, so I just redid the whole thing.
Wow.
But it was fun.
Lord.
It was fun. It's a fun game.
Well, who knew? This is Johnny Clasher's new favorite thing.
Way better than Mickey Mousecapade. I said it.
Jesus. But hey, let's talk about a little more about Twitch, because you're not the only one that's always streaming on Twitch and playing these great games. Because
tell us about the peach.
The streamer spotlight for the month of September is twitch.tv/marauding night, MARAUDINGNIGHT. If you ever come and hang out with us on Wednesdays, she is always there. She plays pretty much every game that we play. And on her own stream, she's playing Modern Warfare. She's playing Pummel Party. She's playing Fall Guys. She's playing Splitgate. She's doing a bunch of horror games like Phasmophobia. She plays Chivalry 2, which I recently just got. And boy, John, is there a game that you need to look up? Holy crap.
Is that what I watched you play the other day?
Yeah, where you're taking
with
people's heads off?
Yeah, that was interesting. I wasn't sure what that was.
That is a violent game. Good Lord. But yeah, make sure to go show Marauding Night some love. Twitch.tv/Marauding Night.
That's right. And then let's head on over to the YouTube side of things, where we got a lot cooking up. When we hit 400 subscribers on YouTube, we are releasing the video game history of the Road Warriors, the Legion of Doom, Hawk and Animal, much like we did Brett, much like we did The Undertaker. If you missed those, go check them out in the video form. They are incredible. We are at 350 right now. We only need 50 of you listening right now to go into your YouTube app while you're listening to this and just press subscribe on our page.
It's $0.
And you get a cool episode.
Free.
You get a cool episode.
I know most of you have a Gmail. Go use it.
Yeah, I might have to make 50 more, because I really want to do this. Speaking of GMP64, episode 32 has dropped. That means there's only 3 more GMP64 episodes left before WrestleMania on October 3rd. And as we announced on last week's episode, it is going to be hosted by the commissioner of the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast, David C. Anderson, and I cannot wait to have him on board. We have a lot of surprises.
Is he my rival? Are we friends? I don't know. Should I be mad at him for what he did to me at FWF, or did he save me from a beating? I don't know. I still maintain I could have taken Troy.
Listen, we won, so that's all that matters, okay?
I know, but I still think I could have taken Troy out.
Yeah, I think so too. But head on over to GameMarksPod.com/shop today, and you can get some gaming grips. You can get some guitar picks with our logo on them, some prints and T-shirts. We have all the fun stuff there. But George, are you ready to head into some? Yeah. Are you ready to head into some gaming news?
I can only imagine what you're going to talk about this week. Are you looking to get a better grip on life? How about your video games? Well, VGF Gamers are the largest silicone gaming brand in the USA. They have a variety of different and unique skins for the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One controllers and consoles. Check out their products at vgfgamers.com and use code GameMarks to receive 15% off your order at checkout. That's GAMEMARKS at checkout. VGF Gamers. Better grip, better style.
I Eidos Montreal and Square Enix have confirmed that Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy has now officially gone gold prior to its planned launch date next month. This means that unlike many other games that have been planned to release in 2021, Guardians of the Galaxy shouldn't see any more delays prior to hitting the store shelves. This was shared on the official Twitter account for the game last week, and in addition to this revelation, a GIF featuring Star-Lord and Cosmo the Space Dog both dancing with one another was shared to celebrate the milestone. Now, Zombies mode has always been a staple of the Call of Duty series, and it seems that the tradition will continue with Call of Duty Vanguard. If a new leak is to be believed, a name for the first Zombies map has been revealed: War of the Dead. This comes from the MW2 Ghost on Twitter, who has a pretty strong track record when it comes to the leaks. The name is obviously a throwback to the works of George Romero, and it seems like it would be a nice fit for Call of Duty Vanguard's World War II setting. Now, Razer's got a unique new accessory for mobile gaming that's essentially a glove, though not the type of glove you might be expecting. These gloves are only for the player's fingers and consist of a pair of finger sleeves meant to provide players with better control over their mobile gaming experiences. They don't cost much either, so it's pretty low-risk investment if you think they might make a difference after seeing what they're supposed to do. These go for only $9.99, though they're out of stock at the moment, seeing that they were apparently pretty popular within the past couple of days. And that's all the gaming news we have this week. Check back next week.
So you're telling me that Razer didn't make a power glove?
No, they made little finger condoms, they look like. Now, I don't know about you.
Wanted the power glove.
Were you ever a like a gaming glove kid?
No.
Okay, so my mom,
No.
I know, my mom bought me and my cousins like years ago from like a dollar store these Superman gloves, and we thought it was a cool idea to cut the fingertips off and use them as gaming gloves, which in theory was so stupid because, like, why would you cut the fingers off? That's kind of what you needed them for, right?
Yeah.
They were dirt bike gloves, I think, which we obviously didn't have dirt bikes.
I'm looking at these Razer. And they're literally just like condoms for your fingers. It's like the weirdest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's weird. It's very weird.
Yeah, I don't have words, man. Things that people are making these days, and the things that people are buying. I got a lot of questions. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, not for me. Razer has been making some cool stuff though. I have been purchasing some of their products, so nothing I'll check out.
You're in the PC world now.
Exactly.
You gotta be a part of it now.
Exactly, but. Anything else you want to talk about before we head to the question of the week?
Well, yeah, the big thing that I wanted to ask you about. I mean, I had a question that I wanted to talk to you about, but then you kind of threw me off with finger condoms here. Are you going to be getting Vanguard?
So Vanguard comes out the week after I move into my new house. So as much as I'm going to want to play Vanguard...
I think I asked you this last week. I think I said I was going to buy it for you as a housewarming present.
Yeah, please don't, because I won't be able to play it yet. But the open beta looks pretty cool right now, and I am looking forward to eventually playing it. I'm going to assume it's probably not going to be until like Christmas time. I'll maybe get my hands on it.
And it goes on sale on Christmas time anyway. So like save like $10, $15 and just wait for Christmas.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to do. Which, being a PC guy now, I can't like ask for a game for Christmas.
Yeah, you can. You can ask for
like a Steam card or BattleNet.
Yeah, well, you would need like a BattleNet card, but yeah, you can even just get like a Visa gift card or whatever.
That's true. Yeah, it's just there's just that opening up. We asked this question of the week like a year ago in December. Just opening up that game was just so much fun.
Oh yeah,
that's all gone now. But anyway, let's head on over to the question of the week. What's up, Game Marks? Are you trying to look your best while repping your favorite video game podcast duo? We know just the place. Head over to ProWrestlingTees.com/GameMarksPod to pick up your favorite GMP designs, including our various logo tees, Future Endeavor, the classic NES Pro Wrestling style tee, and of course, Mark the F Out. Order today and receive a phone call from us. You never know who will pop in. That's ProWrestlingTees.com/GameMarksPod. Play it forever.
All right, so the question of the week is a weekly segment where you ask us a question on social media, and if we pick your question, you get a Game Marks Podcast prize pack. Last week, the question was, what is your favorite action in a wrestling video game? John and I gave our answers. Let's hear what everyone else had to say. Oh, God. Here he is. Good old Will. Purge these days, says WrestleMania 19 for GameCube, Hell in a Cell. Busting through the roof of the cell in that game is unlike any other. If you do a move through the roof, the animation continues until you hit the mat. It makes for some unreal moments. Bernard Schuster actually said that there is a forbidden door. I get it. Now, Bernard Schuster actually responded to Will on Twitter and said there is a mod for Day of Reckoning called The Forbidden Door, but it's DOR, get it? And it adds all the WrestleMania 19 arenas and game modes with some new ones to Day of Reckoning, and that includes an Ultimate X and, John, Triple Cage.
Triple Cage. I watched some videos. It looks cool. I just feel like something like that is going to be pretty buggy.
Yeah, probably. The Zanman at Zanman says, the momentum shift in Day of Reckoning always comes to mind in this regard. It made the matches so unpredictable at times. Now, you are the Day of Reckoning king. That's your jam. So do you agree with the Zanman here?
Absolutely. That's something I kind of forgot about, but it was one of the first games to maybe introduce it. It could have been, I could be wrong. It could have been sooner, actually. But it was one of the first games to like really get it right, where it was like a literal shift of momentum. It was a big animation of like your momentum bar switching with the other person. It was really cool. You had a special. I liked it a lot. I can't help but agree with him there. Good pickup there, Zanman. Good.
Yeah. And the Needle Mover says something really satisfying about corner grapples in the VPW engine.
Yeah, because they're hard as hell.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is satisfying.
Now, there is no question of the week this week because we'll change it up for this week. We are now going to be, I guess, flopping back and forth between the question of the week and if there's a really good review. We'll be doing a little contest here. If you leave us a 5-star review, you are eligible, if we pick it, to get a 8x10. And this is like a new little contest that we're going to be running here. I think we've done it once or twice in the past, but hey, if a review stands out, this is what we're going to be doing. John, take us through the review.
All right, so we don't have your name here, but if you want to claim up, all you got to do is show us that it was you. Oh, you didn't know is the name. And they said, dude, the podcast to end all podcasts. Dude, where do I even start? Listening to these guys is like throwing myself in a time machine to play all of the games I used to love. They do a great job of breaking down the game and even showing stuff you missed when you were younger. All around, great podcast, a must listen. And we love to hear it. So you could be the winner next week, and all you have to do is leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, send it to us, and you're the winner. You get a nice exclusive 8x10.
All right, John. So that is the review that is now going to be awarded a signed 8x10. But are you ready? Are you ready for this one? Are you inching ever so slightly closer and closer to the end of that diving board?
I'm getting there. I'm ready.
All right. Well, I'm running behind you, and I'm about to spear you off of that diving board because it's time for the deep dive. All right, so WWF European Rampage Tour released sometime in 1992. Can't quite get an exact date on that one, but it was released for the Amiga, the Atari ST, the Commodore 64, and MS-DOS. Developed by Arc Developments, published by Ocean Software. John, can you name me what big game Ocean Software made?
You're going to put me on the spot like this?
I want to see. No Googling.
I'm Googling.
What was the big game that Ocean Software made in the 90s that everybody loved?
Are you going to say RoboCop?
Nope.
Because I loved RoboCop. Just tell me, I guess.
Oh. Did you ever play The Jurassic Park game?
Yeah, where you have to tranquilize the velociraptors.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or did you ever play...
I knew the intro looked familiar.
The Batman game?
Yep.
Or Addams Family Values?
No.
They made a lot of those games.
All right, so a lot of the popular, like, movie, TV, pop culture games.
Yeah, I mean, Ocean Games is... Ocean Software's made a lot of games and been involved with a lot of big IPs over the course of their time. But other games out in 1992 that are wrestling related, you've got WWF Superstars 2 for the Game Boy, WWF Super WrestleMania for the SNES, WWF WrestleMania Steel Cage Challenge for the Master System, Game Gear, and NES, Thunder Pro Wrestling Retsuden for the Mega Drive, Fire Pro Wrestling 3 Legend Bout for the PC, and Super Fire Pro Wrestling 2 for the Famicom.
1992 was lit.
Quite a spread here for wrestling games in 92.
It's all over the place, and you love to see that rather than just like a few WWF games, WCW games, which WCW is not on this list.
Yeah, that's... Yeah, I didn't even realize that until right now. Just reporting that out. Now, in the timeline of things, other games in this series, European Rampage Tour comes out after WWF WrestleMania, and it was aimed at the European market. And it was the last WWF game released strictly for the home computers until WWF with Authority in 2001.
Ooh, we loved that one, kinda. And hey, if you don't know much about With Authority, go check out our episode on With Authority, and then go listen to our bonus episode with Markout Digital Card Game Shannon Williams,
and then go buy and play Markout Digital Card Game,
and it's beautiful. And I'm in the Discord, and people are creating amazing things, and it's gonna have a nice long shelf life of being a really cool game.
Yeah, this game's gonna be around for a while, so get ready.
But let's talk about the gameplay here, Georgie, because oh boy, there's not much you could do here. You have to think, we're on the Commodore 64, we're on DOS. You have either a keyboard or you have the joystick with a couple buttons. So all you could really do is your basic moves like a punch and a kick, a running drop kick, a clothesline. There's some press slams, some backbreakers. We saw some headlocks, some arm ringers. It's all very basic. You're not getting the Hogan leg drop or the elbow drop or the Warrior splash. You're not getting any of that. It's kind of more straightforward beat 'em up.
Not a lot of meat on the bone here, but I mean, if you've played Royal Rumble, you played Super WrestleMania, you played Raw, the art style, the look of the wrestlers in the arena, it's very familiar. There's a certain level of comfort when you play this game because you're like, okay, this is just like I don't want to say dumbed down, but it's almost like the vanilla version. There's no real big DLC here. It's just the bare bones, but it invokes the same experience.
It's kind of on the edge for me of between WrestleMania and like a Raw or Royal Rumble. Like it's somewhere in the middle. Like the wrestlers look a little bit smaller compared to the ring looking bigger. You have that black background with the arena displayed in the back, which is cool with like the WWF flags, but it's not that flushed out arena from Raw and Royal Rumble and Steel Cage and all that, but it's there. Like the presence is there.
Yeah, there's definitely a lack of, I don't know if the word is polish, but there's a level of detail that if you've ever played any of the other games in this series, that this is just missing. You know, if this is the first one that you played, you're going to be pleasantly surprised as you work your way through the rest of the series.
Right, and so the gameplay here kind of coincides with the roster, so I think we could go through both of them kind of at the same time here. So first of all, gameplay-wise, there's no time limit. WrestleMania had a time limit. This does not. The premise here, it's kind of like a building story. You could either do one player or two player. You could either work together or
do the practice mode?
Practice mode is kind of where you fight each other, which is what we did for Clash at the Feast. But the premise is one or two players, you form a tag team. You have the option of Hulk Hogan, Macho Man, the Ultimate Warrior, or Bret Hart. And then you have to defeat teams in sequential order of the Nasty Boys, the Natural Disasters, and Money Inc. And now, kind of like WrestleFest, the final match is a championship bout with the Legion of Doom in Madison Square Garden. I never understood putting a roster in a game where not everyone's a playable character. Like if you're trying to sell a game, you can sell a game on Hogan, Savage, Warrior, and Bret Hart, but the Nasty Boys, Natural Disasters, Money Inc., Legion of Doom, you can't play as the Legion of Doom? That's crazy to me.
I got no words, man.
There's no exhibition here. There's no exhibition mode, so you can't just pick people and just go in. You have to either do the 1-player, the 2-player, or the practice mode. And even in the practice mode, you could only pick out of those 4 wrestlers, and then you have to be against the Nasty Boys. Even after the pin is over, it just takes you back to the menu screen.
Yep, and then you just, I'm going to load right back into practice mode, and I guess I'll just fight someone else as the Nasty Boys.
So let's talk about the actual in-game play, because in the drop of a hat, you could be dropped with a drop kick. That's just a running attack, which there's really no like Irish whip running. It's kind of like a double tap and you slide on ice and then do a drop kick. But you could easily fire pro right out of the ring as well.
Oh my God, can you so easily do that? I think I set a record for how many times I've done that in a match. I'll say this. You double tap to run. You can bounce off the ropes, but then you have to double tap in the other direction to keep your momentum going, which honestly, kind of a cool feature that they thought of that.
It is. I did like
It's incredibly frustrating.
Yeah, I like that everything was one button. So there's really no learning curve here because you just kind of go in and you press one button. There was a second button to exit and enter the ring. But
because that's what the controller looks like. You have your joystick and then your red and green or your black and white button. Or your red and white or black and white buttons.
Yeah, so I like that a lot because we could just go in, we could figure it out, we could play and be done with it. But a lot of games aren't like that, but you also have different arenas for different stages here. Okay, before we continue, we had this discussion on Twitch on Friday when I played Bugs Bunny. I know you're going to be on my side. I'm not saying any of our listeners were against me because they all agreed with me. I had a friend back in the day. When I would call something a level, he would get pissed. He would say, "It's not a level, it's a stage or a map." Don't call it a map. Don't call it a level, it's a map. Would you say like the first level here is the Nasty Boys, the second level is Natural Disasters, and the third is Money Inc.? Or would you say, "Oh, this map"?
All right, so I don't think there's a wrong answer.
If you're dropping into Verdansk, you're dropping into a map. It's not a level.
Map. Yeah, but there's
if you're playing Gears of War,
stages.
You have level 1, level 2, level 3. The map isn't you're in whatever the chapter's called.
No, but then like if you're playing Super Mario or you're playing, Sonic, their levels and stages are used almost hand in hand. Like it's
not like Chemical Zone 1 is not your map, it's your level.
Like I'm trying to think of another. Like you can call. Oh, this is like a square is a rectangle, but a rectangle isn't a square thing. A joystick is a controller, but a controller isn't a joystick. Does that make sense? Like I'm holding up my N64 controller right now. It is a controller. The Commodore 64 controller is a literal joystick with 2 buttons, but a joystick people always don't associate a joystick with being a controller.
Well, you shouldn't use Nintendo 64 in there because there is a joystick. But I get what you're saying.
It's an analog stick.
I get what you're saying. All right. Sorry to sidebar that. That just always pops in my head how animate he used to be when we were like in 12th grade, and he just used to piss me off, and I brought it up today. So I figured I'd get your advice. But your levels here, you have 4, and they are different arenas to go with each team you're facing. So you have the Britannic Arena in London, England. That's where you face the Nasty Boys. Then you have the Deutsche National Arena in Munich, Germany, which is where you face the Natural Disasters. You have the Place Omnisports de Paris Bercy in France, where you face Money Inc. And then you have Madison Square Garden, New York, where you face the last team, the Legion of Doom.
I was really concerned if you were going to get that last one right, because I know that was the hardest one to say out of all.
But I did okay, right?
You did all right.
There's only certain names I just can't get down.
I was very concerned how you were going to pronounce the word Madison.
Okay, great. But all right, let's get into this artwork here with the cover of this game because
It's pretty sick.
it's sick, yet they obviously didn't have clipping masks yet in Photoshop because Ultimate Warrior's hair is an eyesore. But this is not a combination you see very often in video games. I think 1992 is that weird year where you get this, where you have Bret Hart, the Ultimate Warrior, and Macho Man together, all looking bright and vibrant.
Look at that baby Bret Hart.
Yeah, I mean, maybe a year later you'd have Ric Flair on the cover or something, or playable in the game. But pretty cool. The one thing that bothers me is the WWF logo looks off-centered because it is centered using the F sticking out.
Oh,
not the W.
No.
It like uses the W.
They're not using the peak of the W.
Right.
They're using the F.
All right, I'm sorry I pointed that because I know you're not going to unsee that. Like I can't unsee it.
It's ruined.
Designer problems, guys. This is how we analyze our game covers. But let's look at the back now. The superstars are back. Now fight like you mean it. I'm not going to read all of this because there is a lot of text back here, but it basically tells you what we just said.
I have another question.
Sure.
I have another question. Can we go back to the front really quick?
Yep.
Did they Photoshop and elongate the Macho Man's tassels on his jacket?
No, that's how long they were.
I don't know. Something about them.
You think
maybe it's just like the coloring that I'm looking at? It looks like they just like selected it,
like he's making ramen,
stretched it out. Yeah,
You think they can't do Ultimate Warrior's hair right, but they're gonna elongate those and make it look like that?
Yeah, it's clone stamp.
I don't think they had that in 1992. But let's go to the back here because you have the natural disasters. You have the Nasty Boys with Jimmy Hart. You don't see him in this game, but he's on the back cover. Same with Paul Ellering sitting there with the Road Warriors, and you have some screens of the game with a whole bunch of text in all different languages, which I get. This is European Rampage Tour. This is not for us.
The superstars are back. Now fight like you mean it.
I guess that's a cool tagline. It's just, what if I want to play as the Road Warriors and any other heel wrestler that you're advertising on the back?
Says, you can't. Too effing bad.
Yeah, like this is their selling point on the back, but you can't do anything with those guys. So, whatever, I get it. You want your crowd to just be your babyface. But let's get into the actual art style now, because we mentioned it was kind of somewhere in between WrestleMania mixed with Raw and I almost said SmackDown, Royal Rumble. I wish it looked like a SmackDown game. Maybe it would be a little better. But you do have somewhat of a crowd behind the wrestlers that looks... What do you always say, George, about the crowd?
If it looks like the rest of the art style, it helps the immersion.
Exactly, and this looks pretty good. It's a little dim with a banner behind that says the Britannic Arena or the Deutsche National Arena. So it tells you where you are. You have a flag, whether it's like a British flag or something to pretty much tell you you're in this arena and you know where you are as you wrestle said wrestlers from that. What I like is your health bar on the bottom. Everyone has their own kind of logo.
Yeah.
But they overdid it a little bit with the little asterisk next to literally everything that is copywritten.
Yes.
It's on everything.
How come that's big? How come
huge.
Randy Savage is so small, but that asterisk is so huge?
It's even on the ring apron next to the WWF logo and it repeats. It's on each one. It's a little much for me, but they really want to protect their IP that they stole. But yeah, anyway.
I will say this. No ref.
No, you instead...
Other games in this series have ref.
Instead, you have a little white glove that looks like Mickey Mouse's hand to count your pins on the
Mickey
bottom.
Mousecapades coming back to haunt Johnny Clash.
There was room for a ref in this game. The ring is big. The wrestlers are small. There was definitely room to have a ref in here. But I do like the way it looks. Everything's bright. It's not like, what's it called? What the hell is the WCW game we hate?
Super Brawl?
It's not like Super Brawl where they're just wearing like one color tights. Like you could actually see like a half tone and a design style, like on Macho Man's tights. You could see Ultimate Warrior's face paint. It's not just a blob. While it is a blob, you could tell that it's face paint. Bret actually has like the hearts and his logo on his chest. I think they did a pretty cool job depicting that in this style of art, in this style of game.
absolutely agree with you. There's not a bad thing that I can say about the actual art style in this game.
Yeah.
Aside from that stupid WWF logo being off center now, it's going to drive me insane and haunt my dreams. But I kind of like it. I think it's cool.
I kind of like it too.
We talked about earlier how this just looks like a more pixelated version of Royal Rumble and Raw and Super WrestleMania. So like I said, if you're familiar with that series, you want to play kind of like a watered down version, this is it.
Very watered down. First of all, you have to get something to play DOS on, which is not easy to do, but
no.
Regardless. Visually, I think this game was pretty. Could it maybe have used, with the lack of roster, could have used some entrances? Yeah, sure. But it does have the red, white, and blue WWF ring, and it has everything you want in a WWF game visually, so.
America!
Oh, here we go.
America!
I think my favorite part was, did you know? Did you know the Commodore 64 version plays much like its counterparts, except it features only singles matches?
Did you know WWF European Rampage tour is available on eBay for $59 complete, shipping from Hungary, $41 shipping from Germany, $17 shipping from Italy, and $57 brand new from the Netherlands?
So I actually sent that one from the Netherlands to SmartMark and said, buy it, you coward, because it was sealed in the wrapper. It looked mint. It did have like $20 shipping on it. All of these had insane amount of shipping on them. But that was the only complete one I saw in the package.
He lives in that AEW mansion now. He can afford it.
I considered it. I'm like $70-ish for a complete brand new game I could potentially get graded, but I don't want to go down that rabbit hole.
Did you learn a thing or two from talking to Soups last week?
I think I might have, yeah. No, we're good. Let's talk about this Commodore 64 port, though, because we know different ports, different games, especially back then for WWF. They always had something different. This game only has 4 selectable wrestlers from the other versions. Now, you have Hogan, you have Macho Man, you have Bret Hart, you have Ultimate Warrior. They're not tag matches anymore. They're now all singles matches, so you must defeat Typhoon, IRS, Jerry Sags, and then finally Animal from the Legion of Doom. So while it's still the same gameplay, it's not tag, and you only get one of those tag teams. So now you're even decreasing the roster even more, which is crazy. How did Animal get picked but not Hawk? Vice versa. Like, how do you pick who's what? Also, the practice mode is still in there as well.
I'm almost afraid to ask this week, John. Are there, do we have anything for R&R?
We got some ratings and reviews. Let me,
Really?
We do. Let me crack my knuckles and let's get to it.
Right.
First, we'll start with the GameSpot user rating now. It's a 5.8 out of 10. We have Amiga Games with a 69%. Nice. Amiga Joker with a 58%. Amiga Power with an 18%. And Power Play Magazine with a 13%. That is crap. Now, I actually found a clipping from Recenzia where they go over this game. It is not in English, so I cannot read it, but it's got beautiful screenshots, a nice gradient.
Oh, you can read it, John.
I'm not gonna, no. And it has a rating on the bottom. Now, I'm going to try to decipher this real quick. Art style, they give a 70. Music, a 71. Controls, a 75. And I can't tell what that last one is, because that also looks like music.
It looks like a face
with headphones on.
Brain.
Maybe overall. But, well, the overall is actually a 72 here, so. I don't know. I can't tell what that last one is. It is in our show notes. If you're a Patreon member, you can check that out and enlarge it and see for yourself. But I think that's pretty cool. We actually found the article clipping for that.
Yeah.
But overall, we have the ratings from the so-called professionals, the Amigas.
Oh, the so-called professional.
Now I want the rating from my Amigo because it's time to rate the games.
The game!
I popped you on that one.
He called me his amigo. That's all. Oh my God.
George Feis.
My heart grew 3 sizes that day.
Mine shrunk.
It's not even Christmas.
George Feis. WWF European Rampage Tour. Will you play it forever? Woo! Or a future endeavor?
You're fired!
All right. Twofold opinion here. For a DOS wrestling game, it's pretty great. Especially considering that last week I had to play Micro League Wrestling. So for a DOS game, they play it forever.
They came a long way in 4 years.
Yeah. But for games overall, I would much rather go play literally any other game in this series because there's so much more meat on the bone. So unfortunately, this is a future endeavor from me.
You're fired!
Okay.
And Johnny Clash, my amigo.
Oh, he's so happy now.
Are you going to play it forever or future endeavor?
I think if I'm going to go back and play one of these games, it will be Raw or Royal Rumble. This game was a little frustrating controller-wise because you could be standing on top of the other guy going back and forth over and over and over again. So I'm going to, also future endeavor. I didn't seem like it wasn't that much fun.
You're fired!
All right, John, I don't really want to talk about this. Just kidding, I totally do. It's time for Clash at the Feast.
All right, head on over to youtube.com/GameMarks Podcast for this week's episode where we play WWF European Rampage Tour. George, you seem like you're happy. So we'll talk about Kaneko Man Muscle Grand Prix where we played last week. We did kind of the continuous arcade mode. It was technically 9 games because it was 3 out of 3s, best of 3s. So I think I took the first one.
My brain just...
Yeah, decipher that. It's 3 best of 3s.
A little smoke just came out of my ears.
3 best of 3s. I won the first set, so you changed your character. You won the second set and the third set, I believe. Is that how it went down?
Yes, it is.
Okay, well, your winner for week 2 of September, George Feis.
America! America!
Okay, well, get off your high horse because check out this week's episode. But why don't you tell us now what we're playing next week? We ran down the list last week, but let's run it down again, what we're playing for the next 2 weeks.
We are going back, way back, to the Xbox. This next week, we are playing WWE WrestleMania 21.
Oh, brother.
Yeah.
I highly recommend you play through the storyline of this one. I already have, but I think you should check it out because it's actually pretty cool. It's pretty comparable to like a Day of Reckoning. This game was so buggy, but I'm so ready to talk about it because I put a lot of time in here.
That one coming courtesy of a good friend of the show, Soups. So... maybe not Fred for much longer after next week. We'll have to see how we feel about this game. But the following week, October 4th, the week of my birthday, Brett Van has us playing. It's like the worst birthday present I've ever been given. WWF Attitude.
Come on, that's a good gift. It's way better than Warzone.
Still an acclaimed wrestling game.
But also that week, we're going to have our GMP64 retrospect episode because that is coming to a head October 3rd. So look out for that as well. But I mean, are we ready to put a bow on European Rampage Tour? Are we ready to take it home, go eat some dinner, and call it a day?
I think it's time, man. I'm ready. The more we talk about GMP64, we're getting a little choked up.
George Feis! Take it to the Matthews Bridge! You're supposed to go behind you on that drum set and
yeah. All right, that's going to do it for us this week on the Game Marks Podcast. Please check out all of our merchandise at GameMarksPod.com/shop and join us on Patreon. Patreon.com/GameMarksPod. It's the best way besides listening to support the podcast. Make sure to follow us on all forms of social media at GameMarksPod. Leave us a review and a rating on Apple Podcasts and subscribe to wherever great podcasts can be found. Leave us reviews, guys. We want to know what you think. 5-star review. Let us know if we pick it. You want a signed 8x10. No fancy song, but maybe one day we'll have one. Who knows? Thanks for hanging out with us this week, John. Another episode in the books. Do that thing that you do.
DJ Lethal, bring it on! Marks.
Game Marks Podcast, put them on the radar. Playing rare games, Sega Saturn, no Game Shark. Johnny and George work hard and they play hard. Future Endeavor games and put them in the graveyard. From the deep dive to the clash at the feast. How can I get more? That's question of the week. Follow on Twitch, there's nothing that they won't play. Game Marks Podcast every single Monday.